Okay, I'm going to minimize that. Okay, welcome everyone. This is a community Zoom call on all things Earth shift and consciousness raising energies that are going on. Anything that just feels pertinent and ready to pass on to the collective who wants to receive the message. So today we're doing a redo. So I actually, a few weeks ago, we had a community call and I just wasn't feeling like I got out exactly what I was trying to get out. And so I didn't post it. And so I'm not sure if that was my perfectionist tendency coming in or if it really was just meant to redo. But I feel solid in the redoing this week because I want to talk about identities and the dissolving of identities and not attaching to identities as we move forward in this process on Earth of collective consciousness raising and earth vibration raising and humanity evolution and all of that. And so I wanted to redo it. And when I decided that, and it was just this week, I thought, well, should I do a new topic or should I just redo it? And what was interesting is yesterday, the etheric galactic team that supports me came through really strongly in an entire lesson about identities that feels is never a way I've never actually thought of looking at them before. So actually it's pretty cool today. So I feel good that it's all in divine timing. So I'm Lisa Klein, and I am trying to just translate all the unseen energies on earth that are happening that we can all feel right now, shifting from old to new. We're in a big era shift here on earth to uh, however you want to identify it, heaven on earth, the golden age. But it really does take every single one of us making all of these internal shifts in order for us to see the external shift. And that's all it is. It's just internal shifts are going to create the new the new vibration here in the fifth dimension on Earth. And Gaia is already underway, and she is moving towards the light as we speak. So if you like what I have to say, please subscribe to my channel. I can't believe I'd ever be saying this, but it does help. It actually really does help. And you can also join this community on my website. And the link I think is in all of the notes. I am lisaklein.com. If you join the community, you can ask questions at the end and you can catch this call live rather than on the replay, which I would post to YouTube. Okay, so identities is what we are going to talk about today. And identities is all encompassing. And they're a part of the personality matrix. Some people call it the 3D matrix, some people call it the lower matrix, whatever you want to call it. I don't like to even say hierarchy terms. However, identities were a part of us as humans since kind of the dawn of the last age of when the kind of dark kind of set in and we started incarnating on earth with this veil of forgetfulness. And it was almost like a reset cycle. We hit the reset button, we started fresh. We came here without the remembrance of our divine spark of source, our divine spark of love that we really exist as a soul. And so we began to create identities and attach ourselves to them. And this is all completely normal. Everything I talk about is normal. Anywhere you are at in the stage of this, totally where you're meant to be in normal. So I just want to offer the trajectory of where these are going. And so identities in this 3D earth that is part of that personality matrix are beginning to dissolve. And if we just see it as that way, like beginning to dissolve, or if we see it as uh, layers around your body that we're just beginning to like strip and peel away just one by one so that we are no longer attached to something that is so limiting and something that is so constricting so that we can really express ourselves as our most powerful, beautiful, brightest self without these limitations. So if we want to just think of them as invisible or imaginary jail cells or bars or boxes or something that we're just trying to get rid of in our internal work, and then we shine as bright as we can. So I just want to start with that. So I wrote notes. That's why I keep looking over here because part of my issue is sometimes I feel like I need to stay organized ahead of time so that I don't lose track of what I was meant to say because I'm technically not channeling. I'm actually just representing the information that I received. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing this coherently for everyone who's listening. So I'm sorry if I'm looking to the side. That's what's happening. Okay, so part of my mission here on Earth is to help others recognize that we are all free, but we have to recognize that freedom inside of ourselves first. And so if we start with identities, that's a great place to start because they are preventing our freedom. And when we all individually feel free, since we are all connected to all things, all humans, all elements, all animals, all plants, everything begins to feel free. Um, okay, so what we do individually helps the collective. What are identities and what can they be? They are anything, they're roles, like I'm a mom, a dad. They're jobs, they are our careers. I am an accountant, I am an athlete, anything like that. They are religions. And this is a big one. Religions are big identities, and I'm just going to separate organized religion right now from spirituality because I've released myself from organized religion, but I do participate in my individual spirituality. So I'm talking about organized religions in this way. Ethnicities can be included in this for sure, and or countries of origin. I've seen that is playing out. I feel like big time on our Earth stage right now. And a other identities that are kind of the last illusions to needing to be dissolved and looked at are gender, and even it could even be sexual identity. All of this, wherever you're attaching a label to something and then saying, I am that, that would be an identity. Political affiliations. That's the other one. I wrote that down. I'm glad I wrote this down. Um, that those are identities that are continuing to play out right now as well. Okay. So they serve to just put us in a box or in a bubble or in some sort of thing where it maybe makes us feel safe or it makes us latch onto something that we know. However, this happened like over a year ago. When this whole theme started for me, the guys were saying when you're attaching your worth or your identity or whatever it is and saying you are that, then when something differing comes in, it hits up against you and it's offensive to you. So right now I might be saying something that's actually offensive to someone and I've been there. So I completely have no judgment on that. It's just an invitation to look at, okay, why is this causing me discomfort? And I have a feeling it's probably going to lead to some sort of attachment. Um, okay, so the goal here for when we do this work, and I have a lot more to say on this, but the goal here is to really just get to our authenticity, our soul essence inside of us, that spark of love outside of all the labels that we've either been told, and this is a big one. Sometimes we're told we're something and then we therefore act it out. And this is completely subconscious. Where this hits home to me, and I've been at fault here, is, for example, telling children, they have ADHD or something. Now, there's a label. We're telling a children, you are this, and now they think they're different, which means less than. It kind of creates a hierarchy. And so I really do have a mission to just reframe every time we speak to someone, but most especially children, and just saying, I noticed this about you, and this is a great strength, or I noticed this and it's difficult for you. Let me give you these tools to help you, or how can I help you, really, especially as they get older, and then they don't feel stuck in that label. Um, okay, so the goal, like I said, is to be your brightest, shiniest, most powerful self here, and that's how we heal each other, and that's how we heal the earth. So I want to just give a couple examples. I'm going to stop and just give a couple examples of this attachment and how it can creep in. And I'm going to do a job related one. I think I've done this before, but if you take a doctor, and this could be any doctor, and they firmly have internalized only their way of doing things, and it is who they are, and they eat, sleep, and breathe it to the point that when new ideas are coming forth, they are offended by them because it hits their identity. So, whereas if they were just expressing themselves as a doctor in an intention of bringing good to all and an intention of being curious and maybe not knowing and maybe having like so many things out there that we all have yet to know, which I'm always believing is the case. Then when something new comes in, such as functional med or a supplement or red light therapy, I'm just trying to think of all the things I've used in the past that have helped me way more than pharma meds. Um, a doctor who hasn't attached themselves to that identity says, "That's so interesting. I'm going to research that. I'm going to see what actually is going on with the body, and I'm going to get back to you." And then they continue to bring that to their other patients. I have seen that done. I've seen actually both ends of the spectrum, but I have seen that done. And it's so refreshing when that's the response. And I understand this person is here in love and service, without that attachment. They have not lost their thread to themselves. So, another example of this could be the role of a mom, the role of, especially a mom. I'm just going to speak from that because for me personally, in my very early years of a mom, um, if something, the child is their own soul with their own plan, and they come here with so many things to learn, and they are flooding the planet. We're going to get into more sessions on this. These starseed kids are literally flooding the planet in their completely different vibration. And so they're not necessarily conforming, which is exactly their purpose here, to how we've done things on Earth before and in the past. But when they act differently, as a mom, I can feel like attacked or embarrassed or something. And that's because I'm identifying like that is who I am and it's my fault. So it took me a couple of years really to step out of that and just see myself as the guide and the teacher. And just I'm playing a role that takes the personal like sting out of it and also helps individual growth because our children I feel like are our greatest teachers in all respects. Um, okay, so that's just a couple of examples, and and I think I touched before on like the labeling of something and how I really want to get away from the labeling and just have it, and it's a reframe inside of like I am expressing myself right now as a mom. I'm giving mother energy. And how can I do this differently? I am in a role as someone, I'm in a finance role, say, but I don't really like how this and this is happening. How can I do that differently from a place of love? And it's almost like you have to come to that neutrality place that I keep talking about, or zoom yourself out from above. And then, therefore, you're not going to be offended, I guess, going forward. And that I hope that makes sense to everyone. If there are any questions so far, you can put them in the chat or anything, because I'm about to get into the major lesson I was given yesterday from the galactic team that I was so afraid things come in and if I don't get them out right away, I lose them. So this is what I was asked to pass along about the energy underlying identities and what's playing out right here on Earth. And this is why it's so important for us individually to do this. I'm just going to take a deep breath because it was a divine lesson, and it was a way I'd never thought about the role of identities and the underlying vibration that goes into them that distorts them. And they talked to me for a long time about the energy of pride and how when we are in an energy of pride, and I want to stop and think about that because at first I was like, well, I'm proud of who I am. Everyone's proud of who they are. And they said, if you're proud of who you are, you have a self-love. Like that's a love. So that's separate from an energy of pride or being prideful. And so, as I'm going to go on these YouTube things that I talk about, this is how I see everything, and this is what I talk about when I see the energies that underlie everything. I always see things as like a duality spectrum, and we're going into unity. So we need to see both ends, and they're going to collapse to unify. So that being said, if we're going to see what I see when they show me there's a spectrum, and then pride is like the distorted end of the spectrum that many people unknowingly and subconsciously exist on with some form of whatever identity we've talked about thus far. So when we're attached in a prideful way, we assume an identity that prevents us from seeing the shadow side of that. It prevents us from seeing what we've come to heal. It prevents us from doing that ancestral work that we signed up to do. With whatever identity we are here expressing is for a reason. You plan this ahead of time, feet on the ground. You are exactly where you need to be. And I know some of these paths are super, super hard and challenging to walk. So if we think about this as a line, sometimes we can get caught up in this prideful end of it. And what that does is create, historically speaking, a hierarchy. And what that does is that leads to an energy of war. And so all of these energies we can see playing out on Earth, and some in much bigger fashion than in other areas. However, any war that we have internally must be resolved because that's what comes to unity. And when we've all resolved our internal wars, we are then slowly resolving the external wars. I know that seems a little strange, but that's what they've shown me over the years. And so how does this play out in this prideful way? I'm let's just use like countries of origin as an example. And so there's a difference between like when you I'm going to pick on the Italians here actually because I'm Italian. I'm mostly Italian, so I feel like okay, it's okay because I've kind of been that way. And we visited Italy last summer and we're going back. We love it very, very dearly. But if we growing up, it was very for Italians, like our family is the best. This is the best. So when you're in a prideful energy, you can start becoming hierarchical, if that makes sense. And that starts separating you and creating division and separation. And this is natural and this is an evolution. However, it's something I had to look at these past few years of wait, why did we say that? Everyone is the best. Everyone is equal. And then I went to Italy last summer and I saw all of these cities way up on hills, like as fortresses. And I felt the energy so strongly of dominance and war, of like, I'm the best, so I'm going to conquer. And then I was like, mind you, don't know anything about history. I did not pay attention at school in history. I'm always very confused when people bring it up. So I really was just feeling into that. And then I was starting to make connections, and the guys were coming in like conquering Romans, all of this thing. And I thought to myself, oh my God, that's so fascinating. And so yesterday, when I was given this lesson on attaching the prideful energy to identities, I I reflected back, and I don't think it was an accident, on even country of origin and feeling them the need to dominate if you feel that prideful energy rather than simply a love, simply the love of your country, the love of your ancestry, all of that. And when you can see the shadow side of the domination or the shadow side of whatever the identity part, if we want to take something neutral, doctors, finance people, jobs, when you can step out of the prideful and look at the shadow side of whatever your industry you're waking up in, then you can start to see, oh, like this hasn't been very healthy for all of us as a collective. It's not good to put chemicals in our bodies. It's money doesn't seem to be fairly distributed. It doesn't seem to be accessible by all. People are corrupt with it, and you start to see all of that and you're not offended by it. And then you move to just that love integration of, okay, now I'm good. I've seen it all. I'm aware. It's bringing awareness to it. I hope that makes sense. So, so these subconscious ways of creating war and division is my hope that all of these messages begin to dissolve that. I guess that's my final, that's really my intention of this. And so what's interesting is I was sitting in meditation outside this morning, and yesterday they just kept calling it the shadow, see the shadow. And I thought, okay, I'm not, and I always see that line like I was talking about. And I'm like, okay, I've got the one end. I see that. And I asked, I'm confused because shadow encompasses a lot of things, but what is on the other end of that prideful, boastful, I guess, energy? And I was floored because like I was not even expecting this. The word that came back, shame. So the shadow side of that is actually shame. And so here's where I want to bring in something that's a little controversial, but it is also my sincere, loving part of my soul mission is to help change the direction of the energy underlying the gender nonconforming community, I guess is what I meant to say, because I really want their highest, shiniest light to be projected without all of this fear that keeps being thrown at them and, all the power within them to really stand strong in that they are here for a very big, amazing reason for the Earth's collective. And so when that word shame came in, I thought, wow, the example of identity I immediately thought of was someone feeling shameful of expressing their authentic true self in a gender nonconforming way and hiding and being afraid someone sees who they their body part, because I know body parts don't relate at all to who you're expressing yourself as a human, but we've attached all these labels and boxes and rules and regulations around it that sometimes, and even as a parent, and even signing up for anything, are you female or are you male? It's like I wish all of that could be dissolved, and I wish we didn't need any of that, especially for the kids coming in now, so that they didn't have to ever go to that other side of shame, that side of shame and hiding. But I think that's for any identity. Um, I think it could qualify for ethnicities, even that feeling of like really staying in that shadow side instead of recognizing they are here exactly as they're meant to heal what they're meant to heal in whatever identity they've woken up in and whatever identity that they're trying to detach from, seeing the all sides of it, taking them inside and loving them, and then moving on from that place of self-love and neutrality without that attachment. So that was the lesson. I don't know if I hope I said enough in a way that is clear. The only other thing that came up, especially with the kids, when I was doing this the first time, I left the session and I never I never put it out there because I did, I was, this actually feels complete and good. And like the message was out there. The kids coming in right now are going to be, we are going to run out of words to describe them. We're going to run out of labels to describe them. We, I would like to even stop labeling them as neurodivergent because divergent implies that there's something different about them or that it's maybe not the norm when we are going to be starting to be flooded with souls that with fully activated light bodies with whole templates online vibrating so high it is going to feel discordant to us, but it's not discordant to them. And so anytime we want to try to apply a label to them, it's going to maybe dim make their role a little bit harder than it should be. So I love how I'm seeing all these people coming up with other ways of treating ADHD and all this stuff. And I always see it as just a vibration that we need to come and meet them at their vibration so that our nervous system doesn't get stressed out. So we can do a whole thing on that. I have lots of information on that, but trying not to label them in a neurodivergent label or in an ADHD label or in a gender label and just asking that they express themselves as whatever makes them feel happy inside. Ultimately, that is the goal for all of us is that we are expressing ourselves that in what feels truly authentically aligned to us, no matter what anyone else thinks, no matter what attachment anyone else has to a judgment of how we're doing that. Um, so anyway, so I think I'll end there. And so the question is, love the balance between prideful energy and shame. Yes, love is the balance to all things, and that is exactly it. Love. So love. Oh, and another time, maybe it was a podcast I did. I'm going to talk about this a lot because I think it resonates with everyone too. As we're waking up to these energies that we're healing, that we're getting rid of, that we're balancing, it's the pendulum is going to start swinging. You know, we may be stuck somewhere and we're like, why have I been stuck there? And then you're going to swing so far back the other way. Like you may be like in this whole prideful place. And then you're like, okay, wait, I feel like I'm at war with everyone around me who doesn't believe what I believe. Like a great example of that is the government political parties. That's the word I'm looking for. Sorry. A great example of this is political parties. It is set up for the energy of war because it's one against the other. It's two things. And when you attach your identity to one in a prideful way, like I know best, and there's nothing else that you can say that can tell me because that is who I am and that is what I know, you're on this end. And sometimes a spiritual awakening will swing you the other way to like see all of the shadow side of that, all of the ways you've kind of didn't want to look at things. And I won't even give examples, but I think everyone can come up with their own on this. Like, oh, and so and you might stay in the shadow side for a while, and that's okay because you're collecting all of that darkness that has not seen the light since probably, whenever this identity came in. So you can stay in that and that is okay. And this is a balance. If you just think of a pendulum swinging, it's going to swing and you may go back a little bit the other way and then it's going to start swinging this way and it's going to be less and less and then it's going to swing like okay, but I'm proud of who I am. Yep, that's great. And I see all the problems with that system. Yep, okay, okay. And now we're in the center of love. But I love myself and I am solid in what I believe, but I'm okay. I don't feel offended when someone attacks that thing or that identity because it is not me. It is not me. I am, have love for all. I have love for myself. And so anything you begin to unravel, that the goal is going to be that 0 point neutrality of pure love. Yeah. Yeah. I hope I didn't rush through that, or how did that, is there any um amazing. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Is there anything else? Because I can unmute if anyone has anything else to say or any other questions. I'm going to quickly look this over. Okay, I think I'm going to end it with I am launching a course for guiding the gender nonconforming, and this could be actual individuals, or this could be allies, or parents, or new parents, very new parents who are unsure of all this gender discord going around. But I really want to start a revolution of self love and acceptance and how it relates to the etheric realm and how it relates to your soul's mission before you came to earth, and messages from the galactic team of love and support on the path that everyone is walking who's affiliated with the community. So if this feels any of interest to you, I can in my YouTube channel put the link in. But right now I'm just collecting a wait list of people who are interested. And so you can also go to my website. I am lisaklein.com. And I think it's under courses. And if you just sign up for the wait list, then I have your email and then I can send more information. And I'm hoping to launch it in a few weeks in September, end of September, or maybe even October of this year, 2025. So I love you all. I'm going to stop recording.